Welcome to the online training for the Integrated Monarch Monitoring Program, or the IMMP. The IMMP is a program to collect data on monarch butterflies and their habitats across the North American breeding range. The data will be used by a variety of conservation professionals and researchers to advance our understanding of monarchs and their habitats, set conservation objectives, and monitor progress toward achieving them. We are really excited to have you join in this effort. In this online training video, we'll learn to conduct Activity 3, the Adult Monarch Survey. The Adult Monarch Survey involves walking a specified route through your monitoring plot and recording observations of adult monarchs. As in all of our activities, data may be collected electronically on a smartphone or tablet, or may be noted on paper instead, and then entered onto a computer later on. Data from this survey will allow us to assess changes in adult monarch abundance and distribution through time. This can also be tracked by land use sector and across different regions. It also allows us to describe use of habitat by monarchs, such as nectaring on flowers and laying eggs on particular milkweed species. Adult monitoring is most effective when conducted every other week, although less or more frequent data are also valued. The average time to conduct this activity is about 30 minutes. If you are conducting multiple IMMP activities at your site on the same day, it is important to do this survey first. This helps you avoid disturbing or flushing any adult butterflies from your monitoring plot. While conducting the survey, you will walk through or along the edge of your site while recording adult monarchs and their behavior. The IMMP uses what is called a pollard walk to ensure that all participants record butterflies in the same way. A pollard walk is a standardized method of collecting butterfly abundance data. An observer counts butterflies along transects and within a certain distance of them. Most pollard walks survey 2.5 meters on each side of you, 5 meters in front, and 5 meters above. You could imagine this as a moving window traveling with you as you walk along the transect line. Because this is a standardized method, we are able to compare our data with scientists from all over the world. This method works well for smaller butterflies, which may be difficult to see or identify beyond 5 meters. But since monarchs are quite large and easier to detect, we have expanded the search distance for the IMMP. The IMMP records monarchs up to 5 meters to each the left and right of the observer, keeping the same 5 meters in front and above. We have named these two distances the inner box and the outer box, and we will record which box the monarch is in when you first observe it. Recording the distance helps us understand the detectability of adult monarchs in the field. We know that the closer an object is to the observer, the more likely it is to be observed. 2.5 meters is about as wide as a parking stall or some bike or walking paths. We recommend that you lay out a measuring tape before monitoring to get a feel for the size of this adult monarch counting box. While conducting the survey, you should walk at a wedding walk pace, or about 1 step for every 2 seconds. Practice this a few times before going out into the field. We will review how to set up your survey route on all shapes of plots. Only use the one that is relevant to yours. First, we will start with a standard rectangle plot. When conducting the adult survey in a standard rectangle, you'll walk along the entire boundary of the plot for a total of 500 meters. You should start at one corner, where you'll also finish the survey. If you are monitoring a standard square, you will still walk the outer boundary of the plot, but the path differs slightly. Once you've traveled the entire boundary, walk diagonally into the plot, traveling about 2/3 of the way. This allows us to reach a total length of 500 meters, consistent with the standard rectangle plot. You can use a distance tracking app such as MapMyRun, Avenza, or Fitbit, or a GPS to know when to stop, or stop once you've reached about 2/3 of the way there. If you're monitoring an irregular plot, survey around the perimeter for 500 meters, taking care to step at least 5 meters within your plot if the area outside is a different habitat, such as a forest. If the perimeter is longer than 500 meters, you can stop the survey once you've reached the 500-meter mark. If the perimeter is shorter, record the length of the survey. Please note that the survey length must be at least 400 meters long for this activity. Smaller areas that cannot accommodate a 400-meter long survey should not be surveyed with this activity. You can also keep track of your distance walked using an app or GPS. In rights of way, you'll walk through the middle of the vegetation strip for 500 meters. You can keep track of your distance walked using an app or GPS. If the width of your right-of-way varies, make sure to stay in the middle of the plot as shown here, which is not necessarily a consistent distance from the road. We recommend conducting the walk toward the flow of traffic for safety. That way, on the reverse trip, you can hug the off-road edge and look around at traffic more easily than you would during the survey. You will also walk through the middle of the vegetation strips and agricultural edges for 500 meters. As with rights of way, the monitoring plot width may vary. Stay in the middle of the plot width while surveying. Note in this example how the monitoring plot begins in line with the original sampling point, which fell within the agricultural field. It is then simply moved to the closest visible edge. Sometimes linear plots, like roadside or agricultural edges, are not wide enough to fit the whole 10-meter wide outer box as shown here. If the outer box does not fit the entire length of the plot, but the site can still accommodate the inner box, then you can conduct the survey using only the inner box. There is a place on the upper right-hand corner of the datasheet to record if you are doing this. If the plot is too narrow to fit the inner box along the whole length of the survey, then do not conduct Activity 3 at that site. The best time to monitor monarchs is between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. on sunny, warm days. This may vary depending on your region and the local weather. If it is a very hot or very cold day, the monarchs may be less active. The ideal monitoring temperatures are between 70 and 87 degrees Fahrenheit and during wind speeds less than 10 miles per hour. However, it is still allowable to conduct the survey any time during daylight between 60 and 95 degrees Fahrenheit and in wind speeds up to 24 miles per hour. We will record the behavior of every adult monarch within the pollard walk. You can record more than one behavior for a butterfly you observe, so if you first see it and it's flying, but then it stops to nectar, you would mark both behaviors. Here we'll review the behaviors you might see and record. When you see a butterfly flying, you'll want to note the height of them in which you observe them. If they are within the same 5-meter moving window around you, they will be recorded. However, if they are flying higher up, they might not be using the site as habitat, in which case they are not recorded in this section. If you only see individuals like that, you can still enter them, but in a different section labeled Miscellaneous Monarch Observations. You can assume a monarch is nectaring if it is perched on a flower with its proboscis uncurled. It may be hard to see the proboscis from a few meters away, so if the monarch is perched on a flower, as pictured here, we will record that it is nectaring from the plant. In addition, record the species of the plant it is nectaring from. When ovipositing or laying eggs, adult females will curl their abdomen and touch the tip to a milkweed plant as pictured here. This may occur on any part of a milkweed plant, including under the leaves, on top of the leaves, stems, or flowers. Also record the milkweed species in which the adult is laying eggs. When mating, two monarchs are positioned back to back and may stay connected for up to 16 hours. In this case, you'd record an observation for each butterfly, making 2 rows on your datasheet and recording the behavior for both. When resting, an adult will perch on a plant, tree, or some other surface. This category includes roosting, an activity that is commonly seen during the fall migration. If you have many butterflies roosting together, you may record one line for this instead of making a new line for dozens of butterflies. Make a note about which monarch number it's associated with and estimate the total number of adults. This is the datasheet you will use to record data for this activity if you're using paper datasheets. At the top of the datasheet, record your site identification number, your name, the names of other observers with you, the date in which you are conducting the survey, the start time, the temperature at the time of sampling, and the sky and wind speed codes. The key for these codes are listed on your datasheet. Also mark whether you completed the site description. Recall that this is a necessary task every time you visit your site to ensure changes such as recent management are recorded. Also denote if you're only surveying the inner box. If your site does not allow for a 500-meter survey, record that distance here. Again, you may use an app to track this distance. When you observe an adult monarch, you will record the box in which you first detected it. This tells us about the ability to detect monarchs in the 2 different distance bins and estimate the number we may be missing. In addition, and this is important, if you first detected it in the outer box, but it then moved to the inner box, you must check the box labeled "Moved to Inner Box." Remember, the inner box is the standard, so if we want to combine data with all of the other butterfly programs, we need to clearly record what is in the inner box. Also record the corresponding behaviors for each butterfly recorded. You may record multiple per butterfly. Remember, if they are mating, make a row for each butterfly observed. If nectaring or ovipositing, record the plant species in which they're laying eggs or nectaring from. Here is an example. Pretend you are positioned at the yellow dot and you are walking a route along the blue dashed transect line. The red box represents the inner box and the black represents the outer box. As you are walking, you observe this butterfly. On your datasheet, you would record that you first detected the flying butterfly in the outer box by making a check mark there. You are continuing the same walk and the same butterfly now moves as you are walking. On your datasheet, you would mark that monarch number 1 moved into the inner box and that it was also nectaring. Additionally, you'll note that it was nectaring on purple coneflower and write that in the nectar plant species space. It is fine to use either the common name or the scientific name, because when you're entering data later on, the two names will be linked together. Now you'll notice that another monarch flies past you, but does not travel within either box. You are still allowed to record the butterfly, but will place it in a different area on the datasheet. On the bottom section of your datasheet, you'll see a separate section called Miscellaneous Monarch Observations. You may record any monarchs that are not observed within either box, but are observed within the monitoring plot here. You will tally them according to their behavior and list the nectar plant or ovipositing species. If you are walking the survey route and happen to notice an egg or caterpillar, you may also note that in this section of the datasheet. However, you should not be stopping to examine plants during this activity due to the pace at which the activity is supposed to be conducted. What if you don't see many or even any monarchs at all during your survey? That's totally okay. It is really common that an observer does not see any monarchs while conducting the 30-minute survey. An absence of adult butterflies is every bit as important as the presence of them. Both of these observations build a dataset that truly reflects when and where monarchs are present. Note that also in some regions, monarchs may have a wave of activity where you'll find many for a while, then few or none, and then find more again as they progress through their several generations. Don't worry though, you'll find plenty of other interesting wildlife to keep things fun. As you can imagine with mobile butterflies, double counting can happen quite easily. Try and keep track of the butterflies as best as you can to avoid double counting the same one. Double counting will bias the adult monarch estimates high and will not accurately represent the abundance. However, we understand that this might happen, especially if there are multiple butterflies at your site. Just do your best to estimate the actual abundance present. We're now going to walk through a few more examples to practice. We recommend that you pause this video, get a blank datasheet, and practice recording these examples. We are now going to start our adult survey. You are positioned along your starting point on the transect line. You begin walking at a wedding walk pace. On your datasheet, record this adult monarch. It is okay to pause briefly in the field to record data, but you should not stop for longer than 1 minute. Now we are continuing our walk and the monarch moves. Mark this movement on your datasheet. Because we first detected the monarch flying in the outer box, we will record it as so. It then moved to our inner box and was observed nectaring from Black-Eyed Susan. We are still walking along the survey route, and we spot a pair of mating monarchs. Record these on your datasheet. Because there are two monarchs paired together, we'll make a row for each butterfly. We're walking again and you see another monarch. Record this on your datasheet. Because we first detected it flying in the outer box, make a check in that box. Also, check that it moved into the inner box. This is our last example. Here you are again. On your data sheet, record this observation. We observe the monarch resting in our inner box, so we make checks in each of those spaces, as well as one in the flying space since it moved away as we got close. You have now completed the Activity 3 online training video. Again, we recommend that you lay out a measuring tape before monitoring to get a feel for the size of the monarch counting box. Thank you for watching this section of the Integrated Monarch Monitoring Program online training. You can find all training materials at the website shown here, or you may contact the Monarch Joint Venture staff with specific questions at the email listed below. Thank you and happy monitoring!